Malcolm Brown at one point was an Abib Agbatoba favorite, if I recall. That
Is
was
that
a
right?
lot of rostered Malcolm Brown, if I remember correctly. Maybe I'm mixing up my handcuffs.
That was
usually
me,
goes
actually.
deep with these. That was okay.
That was me. I kind of started to spread the Malcolm Brown love around.
No, that was not me. That was not me because remember I hated on Malcolm Brown.
Yeah, it was me. It was
Okay.
me. It was me.
I was not a Malcolm Brown fan, so that was not me. Yeah.
First and 15.
I was the Akers guy.
Definitely.
We all lost on that
some
one. We
Malcolm
all
Brown
lost on
fans.
that one.
But Malcolm Brown started off nice that one game, right? And then he just kind of
Yes.
he just
Malcolm Brown
him.
2 years in a row. 2 years in a row he had like a 2-touchdown game and then like some other big game. It was 2 seasons in a row and then he disappeared. So it was the weirdest thing ever.
Guys, we had a big game tonight, big show, big guests. Let's get to it.
Go district, you know the Pope listens. Dynasty, our religion, for the blokes missing. On all of these trades, on all of these plays, on all of these grades. By the end of the day, y'all getting played. So, what you gonna do next? Try to fill up that flex? Send the homie a text? That trash offer's the best? You try to make it complex, then they text you back. Now all of a sudden they don't make any sense. Broaden your horizons, boy. Dynasty's not for the Simons, boy. These trades not for consignment, boy. Respect your opponent, y'all some piranhas, boy. This my advice, from me to you. Open up your cute little podcast queue. Search up GOAT District, my dude. Pop it in your ear, man, y'all know what to do. It's the... And I always be traded. And I always be traded. And I always be trading. Y'all try to betray them, but first you gotta bait them. Fish.
What is up, Fantasyland? We got a big Monday night tailgate. And like our boy ML in the chat says, he says the GOAT District and First and 15, two of his favorites. Two of my favorite right now on the screen, Theo. I know we are big fans of these guys' show. I was saying, just the nature, the way you guys have it so chill, but get in depth and get into some of those tussles. I want to welcome Theo back into the district, Abib back into the district. Guys, welcome back. We're going to have a big show tonight.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. First and 15 is a show that I listen to regularly, and I also talk to Abib and Dio a lot in the DMs. I've gotten to know these guys a little bit over the years, and I really respect both of their opinions. And we're also in a couple leagues together at this point, so that's always nice to have a little competition, a little weekly competition. They're members of now the Hardway Dynasty League, and then we're also in a Triflex League. And then Abib and I are butting heads in a main event as well. Yeah,
I remember that. How's that going?
Not good.
No, neither one of us are bragging about how those teams are going. But it's a lot of season left, and I'm sure we'll be competing on the waiver wire this week too, because it's getting a little wild.
Absolutely.
So, as I'm sure everyone watches your show, guys, just remind the people, I also even like the way you guys split it up. You guys do quarters, like you're businessmen. We're doing quarters. So just tell the peeps a bit about the show real quick, where they can find it, how often you drop.
Yeah. So, it's kind of an evolving podcast, an evolving show. Really it comes from a place of passion, a place of love for the game, for football, for fantasy football. Me and Theo have been going back and forth for years, and we talk often, we text often. We really kind of respect each other's mindset, but we also come from from very, very different places. So it's nice to be able to kind of bounce ideas off each other, to test game strategy, theories, takes on certain players, because one of us will come back with something, and if there's not much weight to it, then maybe it's something that we shouldn't be so strongly on. So we decided to put it on wax, and start recording one day. And Chris, our producer, our esteemed producer, who couldn't be with us here tonight, is just a very pivotal part of the show itself, as far as kind of the editing, the producing, the show sheets, and just making sure that we actually have a show and just not two people arguing, and keeping us on track. But yeah, so during the off season, I think we try to, to record at least once weekly. We start pretty early in the off season, probably sometime right after the draft. And I think it's an interesting podcast because, I mean, for me, it's really just getting my ideas, on tape and just getting them out there. I'm definitely very verbal, and I'm I gotta do. I can read as much as I can read. I can listen to as many people as I can listen to, but it's not until I get into a draft. It's not until I talk about a certain player or execute a certain plan until I can really figure out, if this is something that I'm, I really want to, employ throughout the draft season. So really it's just us just like, laying our thoughts out on video, on a pod, on audio, and, whoever is interested in listening, we really do hope they enjoy the format. And like I said, it's evolving. So, listening to you guys and, just how professional your show is on so many different levels, you guys definitely set a certain standard. And not that we kind of want to be like a certain show, but there's definitely quite a bit that we kind of take, or at least that I take, as far as, as we start to, kind of improve on our current platform and our current show moving forward.
Yeah, dude, that means a lot coming from you guys. We appreciate that. And you guys do a really good job of staying like unique, very unique, which I love. Keep that feel to it. I just wanted to, Theo, I was gonna ask Abib. So, first I got to remind the piece, man, 1912 threw it on the screen. We got a back-to-back champ right here. The listeners, they listen to the show back to, but that's no joke, man. 750 G's. Back-to-back, the football guys, FFPC tournament, that's no joke. That's a hard tournament to win once, let alone twice. We love Abib. But if you need some creds to go check out the show and you haven't checked it out, there's no bigger creds than doing it. Like the man says, he learns that way, but he also does it too. So we respect that.
Yeah, and I think that it's important that people with skin in the game, their opinions are heard, and you guys certainly are competing at the highest levels in the highest, fantasy leagues. And I think that that's one thing we've done on the GOAT District is, we like our like-minded shows. We've had a number of the Draft Sharks guys on. I know you guys are close with the Draft Shark guys. And I think we're kind of doing it a little differently than a lot of the run-of-the-mill, podcasts, which are very good. But sometimes you listen this week and there's people telling you to go pick up Rachaad White. We're not going to have that conversation tonight. And I know you guys don't have that conversation on 1st and 15. So it's like two different Americas for fantasy football right now.
I want to interject. I feel like, you're probably even underselling GOAT District. I think from a standpoint of, the kind of national airways, the larger fantasy sites, I think they're lagging behind or don't appreciate the knowledge base that I think the general fantasy player has. The industry, I mean, the players are just so much sharper. So if you're not like listening to, podcasts, and shows like, in the episodes that you guys put out, I mean, you're just so far behind. You just mentioned it. I mean, there are plenty of guys that they'll talk about being on the waivers, and almost none of us play in those leagues where those players are available. It just makes you a better player all around. So,
no, we appreciate that. I think we carved out a nice space, and you guys are certainly doing that as well.
Yeah, and having a good team. You guys talk about Chris, Theo. Theo is like, I can't even express how valuable he is and how much he just brings so much, man. The passion, the guests that he brings in, and we all love this, and I think that's what comes through the most. So we appreciate everyone that puts out this content. We appreciate you guys tuning in, guys. Smash the like, smash the subscribe. Get in the chat, guys. We love you guys in the chat. Ask the questions. We're going to ask some questions. Let's go quarters. I'm going to call it a quarter. We've seen 4 games. Abib, we'll go to you first. What's the biggest lesson you've learned so far this season?
It's like a lesson that like continues to repeat itself every year. We don't know shit about shit. No.
True.
But no, I actually think, there are a couple different things. I think, one of the main, what seems obvious, and I'm not necessarily sure where I'm at on this spectrum, but we definitely are seeing a shift from the bell cow running back Or maybe we had, double digits, 10 to 15 guys who were getting the far majority of catches and seeing third down work and seeing goal line work. And we're seeing that transition to where we only have, a handful, if at best, on a weekly basis. And, money talks, and we're seeing it in contracts as well. The NFL is also devaluing that position. And so we've seen quite the explosion as far as not necessarily just the boom weeks when it comes to wide receivers, but the depth. We could talk about going 0 RB, but honestly, you could have been grabbing wide receivers 10th, 11th, 12th round that are now, becoming like weekly starters. So I think, that's one thing that I think has been an emphasis. And the other thing that I'm still trying to kind of, get better at, and it just kind of comes from, becoming, more knowledgeable about the NFL as a whole, the real game as a whole, is I'm trying to get a better understanding of the team as a whole. You take a team like the Detroit Lions, and it's one thing to understand or to know that DeAndre Swift is a badass when it comes to, spark scores and just play on the field and, potential league winner. Same thing with Amon-Ra. He just kind of reinforced that this year. But it's another thing to kind of really look at that team as a whole and to have foresight to see that, okay, maybe their defense is going to be a little bit shaky. What do we really know about these defensive coordinators? Because it seems like they have, pieces in that defensive side of the ball. But obviously, right now they're playing as one of the worst in the league. They have an elite O-line. They have a competent quarterback. So is this an offense that we want to target because they're going to be constantly coming from behind, but they're competent enough on the offensive side of the ball to really support a lot of players? And again, this is kind of like, thinking after the fact, but I really wish I would have been able to dive a little bit deeper on this team and saying, you know what, I just want as many pieces of the Detroit Lions as possible, because you would have been hitting all across the board with this team. And we'll see if it holds up. And then conversely, the opposite would be the Chicago Bears. If you look at these pieces individually, these players individually, there's some talent differences here or there, but it's not as wide as you would think. I know. So I think, kind of moving forward, that's something I'm going to try to incorporate a little bit more, looking at a team as a whole and an offense as a whole, because I think it plays a strong role as far as fantasy production throughout the year.
But we had no idea Eberflus was going to be such a moron.
No,
like the guy, they're averaging 16. A little over 16 pass attempts a game. The guy's just he's so bad.
And so maybe this is a situation where, okay, we know he's a defensive coach. Now he's a defensive head coach. And maybe in the realm of unknown, we just kind of err on the side, defensive head coach, move away a little bit, as opposed to an offensive coordinator taking over head coach's job. Not quite sure. Maybe the first year works out, maybe it doesn't, but let's err on the side of, positivity. Who knows? These things are always hard to tell, but I'm hoping to kind of get better at this. And I think it does come from understanding some of the coaching tendencies. Some of these guys are new, so, we only have so much information, but just understanding player personnel at some point, maybe a year from now or so, I think I'm going to start, diving into the IDP realm, and, maybe that helps out a little bit, but it's tough.
Get out of here, B. That's too much, man.
IDP is a lot, man.
I tried last year, man. I did 2 leagues, and I'm like, I'm going to take it light just for the knowledge, because like you, it's very difficult to keep track. Just to give the Chicago 16.8 attempts per game, whereas Atlanta's the next team, the second last, at 24.5. So pretty big gap even there at the bottom of the pool when you're looking.
The thing with Chicago, though, is, we came from Matt Nagy, where everybody was like he was holding back Justin Fields, the whole offense. Yeah. And we assumed that anything other than Nagy was going to be an improvement. Yeah. And you saw Komet getting the type of target share he was getting last year, Mooney. Fields, we believed in his talent. Some people were thinking he was going to be a top 3 draft pick before Trey Lance kind of came out of nowhere. So just having somebody different from Nagy just kind of gave us promise, and surprisingly, Eberflus is seeming worse than Nagy, or maybe it's Luke Gotze, whoever is the one in charge of that offense. Yeah. As far as the Lions, though, come on, we're talking about Jared Goff. Nobody was gonna believe it. Like, I don't care what you told me during the summer, nobody was gonna tell me Jared Goff was gonna be an actual like high-end fantasy quarterback. You know,
I will argue this though about that. Look, we're already arguing. It's not even like not even 10 minutes in. But I will argue this though. I mean, I think that we were high on DeAndre Swift last year. Not this year, but last year. I mean, we liked him this year, but last year we were high on him. And the one thing that we kept like hammering home was like this improved offensive line. Okay. Obviously him being a talent and their defense being bad. We were high on him, and I know you were high on Hawkinson. And then we didn't necessarily know who was going to kind of take over from the receiving, but we knew that there was probably going to be some fantasy value there,
right?
And it basically the same thing has happened. Again, it may just kind of sour grapes. I mean, I wish I had more Amon-Ra. I wish I had more, of this offense. But I mean, I kind of see what you're saying.
But the crazy thing with the Lions is, okay, we could talk about Amon-Ra, who is like kind of came out of blaze this season, kind of going crazy. They drafted Jameson Williams, who hasn't played yet. They have DJ Shark, who hasn't really shown much. So they have these weapons, and you can probably talk yourself into saying Jared Goff will have a better season. But then this past weekend, yesterday, they didn't have any of those weapons available to him. Amon-Ra was gone. DJ Shark was gone. So you would think, okay, Jared Goff would go back to a pumpkin, right? Have another bad game. But still, he put up like 38 fantasy points. It's almost like the offensive system, regardless of the weapons or the actual personnel, is actually what's giving you a lot of fantasy points. And that's something I missed. Did they change their offensive coordinator?
Yes. So it went from Anthony Lynn. They fired him, and that was and then they give it to Ben Johnson, who was kind of a no-name guy, and he looks like the smartest guy in the NFL. It doesn't matter. They have an elite offensive line that I think that's one thing. Like you look at like the opposite of the Bears. The Bears might have the worst in the league, and the Lions have arguably the best in the league. And they go from Lynn to Ben Johnson, and Ben Johnson has them running this wide open offense. It doesn't matter who's out there. You see TJ Hawkinson step up. You see Josh Reynolds step up. Jamal Williams is a very underrated player, but he looked just fantastic. And I think that Jared Goff is doing what he does best. He's a system quarterback. And when he's surrounded by talent, he was quarterback 4 overall years back. And now he's quarterback 6 for the season. And I think we would all bet that he finishes inside the top 12. But that guy, Ben Johnson, needs a head coaching job.
And we'll see if it holds up, because, we don't even have a full year's worth of game tape. But one thing that I love about Ben Johnson, in terms of just like reading some quotes, was he saw how good Amon-Ra was and felt like he was the best player. And I mean, I think we can probably, on the receiving, and he designed the offense and tailored it towards him, and so I think and then you have Campbell, what was Campbell in the league? O-lineman, tight end?
He was a tight end.
He was a tight end, yeah. And you see Campbell come in and really just allow Johnson to, do what he does, not micromanage, be a leader of men. He saw something that, didn't work. He made the switch. He's seeing that it's working, and he's allowing him to do his thing. So I love that on both levels. And, who knows where Ben Johnson's going to go, be a couple of years from now. But I think if he can kind of continue that mentality, continue to be innovative and do what most offensive coordinators should do, tailor, their offense around their best players. I mean, I agree. That guy needs a head coaching job likely. So,
wait till he gets his hands on Jameson Williams.
Oh,
100%.
Like wait till he gets into the fold. That's gonna open up the offense to a whole nother level. So it's actually kind of exciting if I was a Lions fan.
So let's do a quick rapid fire. I'll go to you, Abib. We'll go to Theo, and then Theo, if you have any to add from previous weeks. I know things change daily. So if you're looking to right now, your biggest sell, and who would be your biggest buy?
Oh man, that's a tough question. It's the biggest buy. I think we're hearing. I think Austin Martin dropped this in one of our group chats about.
You're gonna say it?
Yeah, that's still him. Well, I'm not gonna use him. But I agree. I do agree with it. Well,
you gotta say it now, man. You gotta drop
say it now.
Yeah. You gotta, guys, smash the like, so he drops it. Come on.
No, so I think who I'm looking at are actually quarterbacks. When you talk about a buy, I'm trying to avoid the guys who are coming off big weeks. And again, like I said, the fantasy community is smart. So even though Breece Hall didn't just absolutely dominate, they probably saw the touches, the carries, the usage percentage compared to Michael Carter. And I think everybody's now under the assumption, okay, this is likely Breece Hall's backfield to some degree moving forward, right? But for me, when I'm looking at buying, I'm looking at, buying a guy that, right now you say the name, people just give you this like, ugh, like this, like I got this bad taste in my mouth type look. And so I'm looking at two guys, Russell Wilson and Kyler Murray. Russell Wilson, for one, it's a new offense, okay? So I think it's just going to take some time. He's got to get used to the new weapons. Judy was kind of, in and out of the offensive lineup. There's some other guys that may be coming back whose names shall not be mentioned. But one big thing is that they lost Javonte Williams, and I think that's a huge, huge hit. We love to kind of get in the idea of, okay, Javonte's out, Mike Boone's in, let's add him on the waiver wire, almost 1-for-1 replacement. And I think this offense is not going to be able to run the ball and move the ball the way that they want to. The defense is good, but it's not that good to be able to hang with the likes of the Raiders, the Chargers, and the Chiefs, and any other powerful offenses in this league. So he's going to have to throw for this team to have a chance. And I think when you put Russell Wilson in a situation where he has to lead his team, that's when he shines. We were kind of, I think we talked about it on our pod a week ago about Russell Wilson and whether or not to start him this week. And I was like, I'm starting him, no qualms about it, because I felt like the Raiders were likely going to be up in that game. And I felt like he was going to have to be Russ-like. And that's when we finally saw him scramble. We saw an RPO, he took it, it was a rushing TD. So I think, is he going to play great? I don't think so, and he'll have some games where he just, he looks like the old Russ. But I think out of necessity, he's going to have to put up numbers. And I think now, he's going to have to earn that contract, or at least be used, as his contract states, because Melvin Gordon and I think Boone are just not going to be able to carry them on the ground the way we want. And I could be wrong. And then Kyler Murray, just from the standpoint, I hate the offensive Let me step back. Okay. I'm not a fan of the offensive coordinator, the head coach. I know the head coach is likely the one calling plays and likely the one designing the offense. But I still think Kyler Murray is a talent in certain ways, Maybe he has difficulty, seeing the middle of the field or reading defense, but he's still an elite talent with an elite arm, and he's going to have elite weapons here very soon. And if everyone's healthy, I think he's someone who could really surprise. I think, having Marquise Brown being able to run more deep routes when we get a possession receiver in DeAndre Hopkins. We also have, Rondale Moore in the fold. We have Zach Ertz, who's reliable. Some decent RBs who can both, who can catch the ball out of the backfield as well as split out wide. I think that's going to open up the field more to where it's going to be very, very difficult to leave a spy and to be able to have your defense structured to where it's got to keep an eye on whether or not Murray's running. So I think that'll open up lanes. So I think we'll see an improvement in the passing game. I think we'll also see, an improvement in the rushing game, or at least I'm hoping. My shares are hoping anyway.
D-Hops doesn't hurt. And Abib, I wrote about the guy you're trying to not talk about. I can read your mind if you're
we all know. We all know.
We can say his name.
Yeah. Greg Nelson. Everybody knows.
There you go.
Yeah. So for me, go ahead.
No, go. I was gonna say he's in a couple taxis. Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah. So for me, I'm not really a specific player type person. I'm more of a type as far as what I'm buying. I'm trying to buy as many rookies as I can right now. I think all these rookies, as they get more acclimated to the league and the game speed, they're going to increase in value quite a bit as we go through the season. You can even see, we were talking about Sky Moore in our last episode about how up to this point he hasn't really done much. But if you really pay attention to his snap count yesterday night against the Bucks, he played quite a bit. He played more than we've seen thus far. And he looks good with the ball in his hands. I mean, I don't know if it's a thing where he's just trying to really understand the plays well or certain assignments. But once he gets that figured out, he's the type of player where right now you can get him for real cheap because you probably have an owner that's really frustrated with him on the team. But by the end of the season, he can be, somebody that can help you get to that championship. Another guy I'm looking at right now is Alec Pierce. He's a guy people kind of forgot about. This is a guy that was drafted in the early second round. Good as far as body type, tall, lanky, good speed. Not much competition over there in Indianapolis. I mean, you have Paris Campbell, who had his shot, hasn't really done anything. You've had Ashton Doolin, who did a little bit, but wasn't consistent. And neither of them took the job. You know, Alec Pierce came back and he already got 4 catches for 80 yards yesterday. And again, he's still trying to figure it out after dealing with some injuries. So I'm kind of targeting him. I know people are a little frustrated with Christian Watson, but he was still the first player drafted in the second round for a Packers team that needed help. Now, Romeo Doubs looking great, you know, definitely not taking anything from that. But just knowing that, you know, there's another person that's out there that possibly could be a significant part of the offense, I don't want to just kind of ignore that, you know. And I tell Chris and Abby all the time, all these rookies right now that we're drafting or that we're picking up in like these middle, late rounds or for low value, come draft season next year, all these guys are going to be highly sought out. You know, they're going to be players that you're going to kind of like your Jamar Chase this year. Jamar Chase last year was drafted in like the 5th, 6th round. This year he was going in the 1st round. So same thing with Pittman type players. So I'm always trying to look for these rookies who I feel like they have the talent, but they just haven't been able to fill that role yet. But it's coming, you know. So those are the kind of people I'm buying. As far as the people I'm selling, I'm not a James Robinson guy. I know the fantasy points have looked good, but just when I watch them out there, now they've had success as far as the Jaguars, so you know they've been able to have good game scripts. But even if you look at yesterday's game, Travis Etienne, I think, outsnapped James Robinson. And with James Robinson not scoring a touchdown, he didn't really give you the type of output he's been giving you up to this point. And that's a little concerning, you know, especially now they're using Jermichael Hasty in the game as well. So now it's becoming a 3-man split. So he's a player I'm kind of selling right now, especially if you can get something for him. Yeah, so those are the guys I'm really buying and selling right now.
And I like your call about the rookies, and I love the Alec Pierce call. He's really flashed the last 2 weeks, and nobody's talking about him. Mm-hmm. You know, this past week he had 80 yards, four catches, and he was a day 2 pick, and people are just kind of ignoring it. I think that, and I'm a big Michael Pittman guy, but I think that there's a chance that we get to this next summer, and Alec Pierce is a lot closer to Michael Pittman in dynasty value than a lot of people would want to see. I think he's just a very good, explosive, athletic, big wide receiver. Right now, I think that if I'm not a contender, I'm looking to, and we're talking dynasty here, if I'm not a contender, I'm looking to sell off some of my running backs that are a little bit older. Right now, the top 10 running backs, Russell Clay put out a tweet today, and right now the top 10 running backs, only two of them are 24 or younger. Josh Jacobs and Clyde Edwards-Helaire are 24 and 23. Josh Jacobs seems like he's 29, but he's only 24. And the rest of them are all older. So Nick Chubb, Saquon Barkley, I would not sell off because I think he's going to gain dynasty value as the season moves along. He looks that good. I think he could be the number 1 pick next year or the number 1 running back drafted. But if I'm realistically not a contender, I'm seeing what I can get for Christian McCaffrey. He's already been a little banged up this year. He's a great player, but he'll be 27 to start next season. And then I really like Dio's call on the rookies. I think this is another rookie class where I think last year a lot of people were selling off their late first round picks, mid to late first round picks for a random 2023 one. I think a lot of people would like to do that over again when it comes to Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave. We haven't even seen Jameson Williams on an NFL field, but I feel like he's going to be one of them. George Pickens has flashed. Breece Hall looks fantastic. So there's a lot of guys who have flashed already, young wide receivers, and I think that it looks like a better class than we gave credit to, and I think you'll continue to see guys kind of break out from it. You saw Dameon Pierce have a massive game this past weekend. So this rookie class is already making impacts.
Yeah.
You're going to have to watch the show, guys, to see my sell right there. You guys see that perfectly?
That's an interesting one.
But people are not paying. You know, like I feel like people were saying that last week, and then he scores another 2 touchdowns. But it's
exactly.
Like,
so price goes up. Price goes up.
People won't pay for it though.
Yeah, but I have a counter to it, and this is not obviously non-dynasty. My counter to that would be that, maybe this just is what it is. Not necessarily like multiple TDs on a weekly basis.
You mean
if you're in a high-powered offense, like, sometimes, and again, he was kind of going anywhere from as high as late 5th, which wasn't very often, but to as late as, 8th round. To me, he's just a guy. He's a running back that's like, still trying to figure it out as a running back, but I think he looks better than I think people want to give him credit for. But in the end, he's just in a high-powered offense that potentially has a high return as far as TDs, both on the ground and in the air. They're still using multiple guys on the goal line, but they're doing multiple things on the goal line. Sometimes he'll go goal line carries and sometimes not. Sometimes I feel like they just want to like Oprah it, where you get a touchdown, you get it, like everybody gets a touchdown. I mean, we saw Noah Gray get a touchdown. We saw they tried to force feed McKinnon 2 or 3 goal line touches. That's not McKinnon. Yep. They tried to get Isaiah Pacheco down there. I mean, and then I'm sure at some point we'll
Noah Gray direct snap.
Yeah, the direct. I mean, so
that was awesome, by the way. That was dope.
Yeah,
fantastic.
But if you're gonna pick an offense,
last night he was out for blood last night.
Yeah, but I mean, I agree. Like if people are valuing him as a locked in high to mid RB1, then sell.
Pacheco looked good last night too, man.
Yeah, he did.
Pacheco looked real good, like a solid
you
running
can tell they're starting to trust more with the rookies because Pacheco and, like you said, even Sky Moore, man, you just saw him on the field more often,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys, Theo's realm here. Mr. Waiver Wire, the OG live wire guy. Check it out weekly. Theo drops a show as well as his article at Player Profiler. What's a waiver wire, darling? I know you don't want to give away the secrets, so maybe you give, comment on the more obvious guys. I don't know. Give us a little something, Abib. We'll start with Abib. Come on, give us a little something here with.
Just know if you're in my league, you got to play. You got to pay. You have to pay.
There you go.
Who you going after?
You're just gonna have to pay. I price and force. Okay, I don't care if I need him or not.
Who you going after though?
I mean, everybody should be going after Mike Boone. If you're not even putting in a $1 bid for Mike Boone,
so Mike Boone is the top waiver ad this week. Is that the consensus?
I'm not saying necessarily. I'm saying you should. You'll be hard pressed to not find something in a deep bench league, something on your bench where Mike Boone can't potentially knock off one player, if not 2. But I think he's one. I want to hear a little bit more about the Jonathan Taylor injury. I'm hearing some rumblings about Deion Jackson. I think everybody's kind of overlooking Phillip Lindsay. So who knows? And maybe it's just Hines. Maybe it's just more through the air. I really don't think you want Matt Ryan back there just tossing the pill around. So they're gonna have to find somebody on the ground. So if that looks like it's a true high ankle sprain, and we probably may not know until tomorrow, then I'll probably be looking at taking a $1 stab in that backfield. We've talked about the tight end, Greg Dulcich. In the places where I absolutely need a tight end, we may, I may look there. Bellinger is a guy that Deo's brought up literally since the season began. If I'm tight end needy, tight end starving, eventually the Giants are going to be in a game script where they're down by multiple TDs and they have to throw the ball. And right now they just have absolutely no wide receiving weapons. So that'll be, a player that, in tight end premium FFPC that I'm looking at. And then as far as wide receivers, I think you guys kind of, touched on the Alec Pierces of the world. And then guys get dropped. I mean, even in high stake leagues, Scott Moore, it was on the waiver wire last week. So I picked him up last week. I saw Darnell Mooney on the waiver wire, and I know, gross, nasty taste in the mouth, gross. I'll still pick him up because you never know. One thing that Deo has taught me is, man, just pick up talent. Draft talent. Because I'm definitely a situations guy, and I used to be all situational. The situation's great. Insert player X, and he'll produce to some degree. but it definitely is like, I think if you just gravitate towards talent, eventually the situation will change and fluctuate to where now that talent becomes useful. So, definitely, if there's talent on the waiver wire, like a guy that we were high on, George Pickens was another guy. I saw him dropped in a couple leagues. I picked him up last week, and now look what's happening. Now, we got Pickett coming in, and who knows who he's going to favor. If he decides to favor the rookie over Deontay, if he decides to, look downfield a little bit more. If
they have that rookie connection, man. They came in together. So
he realizes that Claypool has, his hand score is like 10, 15.
Claypool gave me a 0 yesterday. Claypool is dead to me right now. Like, what the hell?
Yeah.
So for me, my waiver wire ad, and Theo, if you got these, you can stop me. But I think y'all should be looking at that Falcons backfield.
Yes.
Specifically, I think y'all should go see where Damian Williams is at right now.
It's a great call.
I think because if you go back and watch the first game of the season with the Falcons, Damian Williams was a starting running back. He got hurt very early in the game, but he started off, I think, 5-6 straight plays. He got the first set of carries, and then they put him on IR. So you didn't really get to see what they really had in store for him. Patterson came in, did his thing, and Patterson kind of got everything. So it's almost like Patterson just kind of took the job and ran from it or ran away with it. But now that Patterson's on IR, I think they're going to revert back to the guy they trust, and he should be coming off of I'm talking about Damian Williams. He should be coming off of IR this next week.
Yeah, he's eligible. That's exactly it. He's eligible to return next week from IR.
Yeah. And not just him, but also, go ahead. I'm sorry.
They also had him out for the first third down as well. So they had him as a 3-down back ahead of Cordero Patterson. So I think that's a fantastic call. But keep going.
And not just him, but and if you just are strapped with cash, you just want to just throw a dart, maybe look at Caleb Huntley, another running back there. And kind of what Abby was saying as far as drafting or picking up talent, you never know what is going to happen situation-wise with these teams. And the biggest equalizer is honestly injuries. One thing we talked about was how we got on Dearness Johnson last year. He was the third running back on the team, and then that was the week Hunt was hurt and Chubb was a starter. And it was almost like, just pick this guy up and just see what happens, because if the guy in front of him get hurt, he becomes the guy. And we know he has the ability to produce if given the opportunity. So players like that, they're just kind of so cheap that everybody just kind of ignore, but you can see just an avenue as far as them getting those touches. And with the running back, it's one of those positions where opportunity is king. It's right. Once you get the opportunity, you can really produce with it. Now, once everybody's healthy, all bets are off. But this is a game of attrition. This is a gladiator sport. People get hurt every play. So you don't know what's going to happen, and that's one big thing I always try to stress. Like, we don't really know what's going to happen. We can predict, we can assume, we can hope, but in reality, we don't even know what's going to happen 10 minutes from now. So with that going into effect, you want to kind of pick these guys where it's like, if some random thing happens, can I see this occurring for this player? And if the answer is yes, then I'll take a shot at the guy. So
yeah, there's a number of handcuffs that are available, like clear handcuffs that are available on the waivers. Those guys, a lot of those guys should be rostered in certain situations if you can afford it.
Also, by the way, and Abby mentioned this too, there's a lot of good players being dropped that you can pick up. And if you're playing FFPC, one of the things I like to do is when I go to my the bids screen, I go all the way to the right where it says own percentage, and I just click that own percentage button, and it lines it up according to highest percentage owned to lowest percentage owned. You'll find so many gems there. Like,
whoa. JD, is this behind a paywall?
I do that. I tell by B's face he wasn't like.
Look, they invited me on the show, so I'm just letting it all out right now.
I do the same thing on the MFL, like those leagues.
We're gonna tweet out Dio's Venmo after anybody wants to, or the First and 15 Patreon, one of the two.
He didn't even give me this much information. I don't know what it is with y'all. I gotta find out after the fact.
When I get the camera on me, I don't know. I just get free, I guess, So
we love it. We
appreciate Wandale Robinson. I was picking up Kadarius Toney, Rondell Moore is out on some of my leagues. Like, I'm picking these guys up for nothing. It's like, dude.
Shopping spree. Just like, I'll take some of this, I'll take some of that. Like,
And I think that's a great point by Dio is like a lot of times when you get to this time of waivers, especially when you're managing multiple rosters, a lot of people listening to this might have 10 or more teams. Some of us won't even say the amount of teams we have for IRS purposes, but we have a lot of teams. And I think that when you go through waivers, you say, oh, I'm going to go through and I'm going to look for Mike Boone. I'm going to put in my Mike Boone bids, put in my Alec Bearsford. You do the same guys every single league, and you might overlook a couple of guys. And I think using the ownership percentage or however you want to, sort it out, you could go with fantasy points, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. You might see a guy that's available that maybe shouldn't be available. And I like your guys' call about Dulcich. I think he's obviously a guy that you want to be ahead of the curve on. People are very high on him. Okay.
Real quick with Dulcich, real quick. If y'all go back and watch the Denver Broncos website or their Twitter account, and there's a tweet they put out when they drafted Dulcich, how excited the whole draft room was about him and how they were talking about how he had soft hands. Because I think they traded the pick first, and they were nervous whether he was going to be back when they came back up. You just kind of see how they were just so happy to actually get him on the team. So a player like that, you just kind of have to take note when the team is that excited about adding him to the organization. Keep in mind, it's a new coaching regime. Yeah. And I used to tell Abby and Chris all the time, I don't want any Alberto. Like, I don't want him on my team.
Why you got to be like that, man? Why you got to be like that?
Yeah. We have zero Alberto because of him.
Yeah.
Good, man. That's good. You're lucky.
That's good.
Announcers will not be having to look up the pronunciation for Oakland Boonham.
That's probably why they don't play him. They don't want to say his name.
They don't want to. Now they have to figure out, do I say Algier or Algier? Yeah. So there's always the next one. But I think Wan'Dale Robinson, if you're in a home league, being a week ahead with Damian Williams, Wan'Dale Robinson, Gus Edwards is interesting. I still like Justice Hill, but Gus Edwards is free right now. Yeah. And Dulcich. But yeah, it's Mike Boone this week is going to be the guy. It's going to be interesting to see how much people bid for him. Melvin Gordon has 4 fumbles this year. So that's one thing that like Melgo should be the goal line back and should be the short yardage back and should see a bump up. But at the end of the day, if you keep coughing it up and you're a little bit older, Mike Boone, could have a little more juice than people give credit to. Mike Boone should be the receiving back, and Mike Boone actually outsnapped Gordon this past week when Javonte Williams went down. So Mike Boone's going to be a big – 100%. He's already on the injury list. So
yeah, he's going to get hurt.
Price enforcement will be interesting, and I think it's like if I'm RB needy in an NFFC or FFPC league, then I have to seriously considering going heavy on Boone just on the chance of what he could be. And it's finally a running back situation where we see a guy that's available in every single 20-man league. So it's going to be maybe you're going to see some crazy Mike Boone bids this week.
Yeah. I think would y'all say Javonte is the first running back this season that's like the first high-end running back that's been injured for the year? Like is he the first one?
Except for Travis Etienne, which injured my ego. But other than that, sadly.
Well, let me ask y'all this: what do y'all make of the Chargers backfield? Because I've been trying to figure that out for like 3 years now. I don't know who the handcuff is. One day I think I got to figure it out, and the next day they give the other running back all the carries, and it's like I don't know what to do there. So what do y'all think with the Chargers?
So I think if it was 1 week, it would be Josh Kelly. But if, God forbid, Austin Eckler goes down for the season, I think that Isaiah Spiller would have a say in it, even though we haven't seen him yet. But again, it's such a choppy situation. There's a chance it could just be a committee as well. So
it's a tease. Josh Kelly's a tease, man. He teased us in the preseason. You think he's got the job, and then you got the rookie who gets injured. So it's hard to say, man. Sony Michel comes in, blurs up the picture even more. Yeah. It's just dirty, So I don't think you want to go near there unless you have Eckler. I don't know. Personally, I'm staying away for now. Or you keep the rookie, on your taxi squad just because you've got the freshest piece that might pop.
Yeah. Don't stay away too much, JD. You never know, man. That's what we say. You never know.
True. Well, I was looking at guys right now, like Theo was talking about the top running backs right now. that's exactly why you never say never in the offseason. You give it percentages, even if you get a guy on one, look at Miles Sanders, man. The last live draft I did on this stream, guys were giving me beef because I wasn't a Miles Sanders guy all offseason. And look, he's like third in rushing right now in the NFL, so you never say never. We don't know shit. We talk about that very often on this show. And I think both our shows follow that same philosophy. And that's probably why we approach the game very similarly. So guys, this has been awesome. As usual, we didn't even get halfway through the show sheet. We could go with you guys for literally 4 hours.
Let's do it again another day.
So we're gonna get 100%. We're gonna get you on for a full GOAT district, so we can go we can stretch it more. Maybe we might have to send Abib and Theo some funds, to keep them in that long. we appreciate you guys giving us your time tonight. Remind the people where they can find you. Maybe let the peeps. Who's your most owned player right now, if you're willing to share? But as we close this out, and you remind the peeps where they can find you out there in Twitterland and the show that we love so much.
Most owned player, Wan'Dale Robinson. Oh, okay.
Nice.
Yeah. You know what? It's still early. So he's just waiting in the wings. But yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Skywalker2000, SKWALKA 2000 at yahoo.com, not a Sky Wars reference. And the show, First and 15th, on Apple, on Spotify, on YouTube. It is a video pod. We try to get together and do it in a kind of, a more informal type format. So if you get a chance to check out the YouTube, we would love that. And yeah, man, just, JD, Theo, man, thanks for having us on. We love, like I said, you guys stay in the rotation. Love you guys and appreciate being here.
Yeah. Real quick, Abby, have you ever explained to people where your name come from? Like,
we don't got time for that. Monday Night Football. We don't got time for that.
All right.
No, I want to know. Give us the version. What is Skywalker?
I mean, it's just, I used to have hoop dreams. Used to think I was a little something, and the term just comes from thinking you could walk on the sky.
Thought you'd be Michael Jordan or something like that. So
that's awesome.
Back in another lifetime.
Right.
Maybe a dream even.
So there you go, folks. It is not a Star Wars reference. It's a basketball reference.
It's funny because when I saw people talking about Star Wars, I was like, why are they talking about Star Wars? It hit me later. I was like, oh, Skywalker. Yeah. I was like, it just threw me off. So yeah.
I would have never guessed that. I love that story.
So my most owned player is Tyler Conklin. It's my most owned player.
Nice.
My second most owned player is the Jaguars defense.
So my most owned player right now, I just pulled up Dynasty, so I ignored the redraft. But Dynasty and FFPC is Jalen Warren and Nyheim Hines. I have a ton of. So I have those guys on every team, it seems like. But I'll just brag on this one. I'll give myself a pat on the back. I have 29.6% Pat Freiermuth right now in my Dynasty teams.
Love it.
So I'm just going to enjoy Muth for many years to come.
Yeah.
I'm at I got Bateman and Wan'Dale Robinson, T. Higgins, and Khalil Herbert. My foremost. They're kind of really close.
Yeah, y'all are loving life right now.
Very nice, JD.
Within my time.
So we basically all have our host pinned on Wan'Dale Robinson, huh?
I have 26% Wan'Dale Robinson.
Man, you don't even want to know my percentage.
Reports every day, like, is he practicing?
All right, guys.
Wan'Dale Robinson.
Enjoy the game tonight. Big game tonight, San Fran and the Rams. Hope you guys get all the points you need. Enjoy the week, and we'll check you all later.
GOAT district, the Pope listens. Dynasty, our religion, for the blokes missing. On all of these trades, on all of these plays, on all of these grades. By the end of the day, y'all getting played. So, what you gonna do next? Try to fill up that flex? Send the homie a text? That trash offer's the best? You try to make it complex, then they text you back. Now all of a sudden, they don't make any sense. Broaden your horizons, boy. Dynasty's not for the Simons, boy. These trades not for consignment, boy. Respect your opponent, y'all some piranhas, boy. This my advice from me to you. Open up your cute little podcast queue. Search up GOAT District, my dude. Pop it in your ear, man. Y'all know what to do. It's the and I always be traded. And I always be traded. And I always be trading. Y'all try to betray them, but first you gotta bait them. Fish.
I like watching y'all.
Guys.
I like watching y'all's video all the time because I see all those Texas players. I'm like, man, the good old days. Those are the good old days.
That's right. You guys have any good bets on tonight's games? I just realized this might be the first game in a while where I don't have anything on it. You got any?
I don't have anything either, actually. I've been busy at work today, so I didn't really get to look at it, but we'll see what happens.
I have some a lot of fantasy skin in the game. I have a team that needs Cooper Kupp points. I have a team that needs Deebo Samuel points, and then Andrew Geller, Andrew Schellenberg, and I, the guilds, and Andrew and I have a main event team, and we need like 20-something points out of Kittle and Brandon Ayuk in an FFPC main event. So we're due to do a podcast tomorrow night, the three of us, like a team catch up, like half Millie Billies. But that'll be canceled if we don't get the points from Kittle and Ayuk. That'll be
our main event, Theo. We need 6 points from Cooper Kupp tonight. So let's hope he gets us.
It's in the bag, JD. Why don't even talk about it? It's in the bag.
Steve, no, wait.
Whoa.
You say stuff like that and the injuries happen.
Whoa, Theo.
Guys, I'm gonna make a call for anybody still watching.